Hey everyone, Justin Holland again here with the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. This is our second show. We were really excited to launch the show last week. It's been well received online. We had a handful of carriers and providers reach out to us. They're looking forward to becoming a guest on the show. So, probably starting in the next show after this one, we're going to start having some distinguished and great guests from the carriers, from the providers here locally to provide value in what they can bring to the show. So we're real excited about that. I can't thank you for listening to the show, and hopefully we'll provide some value on this episode that we've got for you today. And as I did in the last show, we've got some topics, some discussions that we're going to bring. And this particular show is going to be about life insurance. And this could be a little controversial on what I bring up, but I'm a big believer in making sure it's a good day to die. And you could be saying, "God, Justin, that's a little harsh, it's a little brutal," and I disagree. I'm going to push back on that. We want to make sure that we have our affairs in order. We are not making it out of here alive. We're all mortal, and we never know when our time is up. And you want to make sure that you're protected with that. So this episode really is going to hone in on life insurance, living benefits, the types of life insurance that are out there that are available to you. We're also going to talk about and dive in to long-term care. And the reason I want to talk about long-term care is because the odds are, the statistics are that we're gonna mostly live longer. The problem is we're not necessarily living healthier. So life insurance, long-term care planning is huge on protecting yourself, and we're going to go over, on some of the reasons why you want to have coverage and protection in place if you can, first off, afford it, or you can get underwritten and have the coverage approved, because a lot of times there's some restrictions on that, and the sooner you can get it when you're healthy, the better. Before we dive in, though, into the life insurance part of the show, we're going to talk about a few updates. Some of these relate into next week. Last week's show. But I want to visit about a couple things that we want to just get on everybody's radar and consider. And one of the first things that we'll talk about is short-term medical plans that could be making a comeback in our industry. We've got a lot of individuals that are on the Affordable Care Act plans, Obamacare, ACA, Marketplace, whatever you want to call it. And there's health coverage out there as well, where it's not necessarily health insurance. Pre-existing conditions can apply. They can cherry pick the network or what they will and will not cover. But there is a form of insurance out there called short-term medical plans. These short-term medical plans were typically a bridge between maybe coming off of an employer-sponsored plan and you were going to get hired somewhere else, but you were in a waiting period there, or maybe you didn't have insurance at all, but you needed to have something in place until you get employed by a company and maybe have access to coverage or options there. Short-term medical could be a bridge on those that missed their opportunity to get on a health insurance marketplace plan, because you technically need a qualifying event to be able to enroll in individual health insurance. A lot of people just think they can enroll at any time, and that's not the case. But the short-term medical plan can be a bridge on getting something in place if you're healthy and just want something for catastrophic coverage if something comes up. But short-term medical plans kind of took a back seat with some legislation that limited the amount that you could have those, or the times you could renew them. And we're kind of waiting on some additional details from the carriers and the legislation that's coming in to maybe revitalize that. And I'm actually looking forward to that, because we've got a lot of individuals that could be needing to look at short-term medical option as an extended or a longer-term option than the short-term, that it's intended for. So a lot of stuff coming out and a lot of disruption coming in the health insurance. So just reach out to us about short-term medical plans with Texas State Insurance Services, and we can review those options and see if it's, something that we need to consider for you or your family, either, on a temporary basis or maybe a longer term, with the new updates that are coming on how long individuals can have a short-term medical plan. We're also saw something. I actually talked to somebody yesterday morning regarding their Medicare, and they reached out and said, "Hey, listen, our current agent is wanting to charge us a fee to review our health insurance options this year." And I'll be totally transparent. I understand where some agencies and brokers are wanting to charge a fee because sometimes we don't get compensated from a carrier on helping somebody get enrolled in a plan. But if we really look at the guidelines on what agents and brokers are held to, there's some there's I don't know how the best way to explain it. We have errors and emissions insurance, and we have guidelines and agents, and sometimes these carriers are going to say, "Hey, we can't pay you on a plan." Yet we're spending the time to help somebody review their health insurance plan, and that time costs money. So where I'm going with this is, if your agent is currently saying, "Hey, we need to charge you a fee to review plans and options," it might be time to shop and look for another agent. And this could upset or be controversial with other agents that hear this message, but that's kind of the risk that we take. We want to build up this business. We want to earn referrals. Some products we get compensated a little bit more than others, and so it's some give and take there. And I'll much rather help you with a review, no nonsense, no cost, on your Medicare or individual health insurance, with the opportunity, hopefully, getting you on a plan that we are compensated on, or maybe there's some other products or other individuals you can refer to us that can help us build our brokerage. That's my 2 cents there on fees for reviewing health insurance plans. Now, that could change. This industry has been changing over the past 12 years. So I could come back on the radio show, "Hey, I got to backtrack what I said there." But as of right now, Texas State Insurance Services, Palmetto Life Group, we don't charge any fees to review your health insurance options, your group benefits plan, or your life insurance or retirement strategies. All of that is free of charge, no nonsense reviews. So I wanted to make sure I got that out on an update as well. And the other thing is to pay attention to your employee benefits renewal and your individual insurance renewals. I brought this up in the other show, or the last show that we had last week, but it begs repeating. Please take a look at your employee benefits renewal. If you waived coverage this year or the past years just because it was too expensive, you need to re-entertain that. I have to be really adamant. Most of the time, it's affordable coverage through an employer. You might not think so, but it's so much more affordable to have that in place and not have anything in place, and then you have a medical emergency come up. Had a client visit yesterday, actually, and they were in the hospital, and they did not enroll in a plan when we had tried to help them enroll a year ago or last fall in December. They're like, "No, we're going to hold off on this." Sure enough, a medical emergency came up, and they're hospitalized, and they're figuring out how to pay for that or how to try to get on coverage. And there's no special enrollment right now. The only way we can get them on insurance that zero underwriting and the ability to get them on a plan with no pre-existing conditions is when the open enrollment starts this fall for a January 1st effective date. So I cannot stress how important it is to have insurance in place before the emergency, because most of the time or all the time, you're not going to be able to get health insurance at the time of the emergency. So short-term medical plans making a comeback. That's one of the updates. We're seeing agents and brokers charging fees to review their health insurance options for their clients. So you're probably going to see more of that. And I'm just reminding everybody, we do not charge fees to do your health insurance review. Sometimes you're in good shape. We don't need to make a change. And sometimes it is time to make a change. But we're not going to charge you to do that initial review and expedite it. And some reviews take 15 minutes. Some of them take a little bit longer, 30 minutes or a revisit. But we try to be as efficient as we can. And that last reminder that I just brought up, to pay attention to your employee benefits renewal that could be coming up. If you need affordable options of health insurance for your family members, be it spouse, children, one or the other, or both, we'll help you with that review. And then be on the lookout for your Medicare health insurance review and your individual marketplace insurance reviews. You're going to start getting updates and notices on those probably already. And you need to make sure you're staying on top of that because we're expecting some disruptions with that coming up this fall. Right now, we want to promote Texas State Insurance Services. You know, we're talking about the significant disruptions in health insurance that are going to go into the new year of 2026. But make sure you reach out to Texas State Insurance Services regarding your employee benefits, maybe a simple dental and vision plan that you might need, or your individual health insurance, along with Medicare plans for seniors. Texas State Insurance Services has 4 locations here in San Antonio. We try to make it as convenient as possible to either visit one of our locations or meet you at your home, your office, and just hit the ground running, take a look at a review, and be prepared for this upcoming new year on the plans. Maybe you already had a renewal of your employee benefits already, but you're just not sold on if that would have been the best option. It is not uncommon for us to do an employee benefits review, you know, a few months or so after you had a renewal, just to take stock on what could have been done differently or maybe better. So just keep Texas State Insurance Services in mind for employee benefits, your individual health insurance, dental, vision, travel insurance, as well as your Medicare options for seniors out there. We can't wait to help you. So we're going to dive into life insurance. And you're going to have to forgive me on the video here. I might be looking down a little bit because I'm going to be looking at some notes. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. There's a lot of details regarding life insurance that I think get missed out there. And we want to make sure we really dive in to the importance of life insurance or long-term care. And when I kicked off the show, I was like, hey, this episode's kind of mantra is going to be make it a good day to die. And I think that can be a good and empowering position that people can be placed in if they have the right life insurance or even long-term care insurance in place. God forbid there's an untimely death or you get sick. And I'm going to talk about some living benefits and some details here as we break this down. Before I dive into some of the details on the insurance, let's take a look at some statistics that I pulled up online and through our carriers that I wanted to make sure I get out there and discuss. These life insurance statistics are pretty sobering when you take a look at it. First off, more than 50% of American households rely on 2 incomes. That's very important for life insurance. You got to make sure that if there's a loss of a spouse that is contributing to the livelihood of that family, you want to make sure you can back that up. And life insurance is no doubt going to be a easy and reasonable option to be able to protect your family, God forbid something comes up. The average American will leave behind $61,554 in debt. Okay? A lot of debt out there. There used to be a lower amount in debt out there in the country, and we're seeing that skyrocket. Credit card debts, mortgage debt, car payments are costing more. So you want to make sure that that debt could get easily eliminated and not be a burden on a family with a life insurance death benefit that can help save the day, so to speak, on that. 50% of people overestimate the cost of life insurance. Most people that I talk to think the life insurance is going to cost more than it actually does when we do a quote. Now, obviously, the higher amount that you want of life insurance could cost more, so that can affect the cost. It's basically linked to a death benefit amount, but most of the time, 50% of people overestimate what that cost of life insurance could be. So that's just a testament of making sure you review and get with an agent. We got Palmetto Life Group that would love to help shop your individual life insurance if you don't have any in place, or maybe replace what you have in place or complement what you have in place as well. One of the analogies I used a while back was our cell phones. You know, you obviously upgraded from that Nokia phone 20 years ago that we all started having our cell phone conversations with. Might not have been a Nokia, could have been a Motorola. But that technology has surpassed what we have back 20 years ago when the cell phones were coming out. Why do I bring that up? Because life insurance, the financial products are out there. The long-term care products have surpassed what was out there and available to you years ago. So much like upgrading your cell phone, don't rule out upgrading or reviewing your life insurance to see if you need to make a change there or on your long-term coverage care. Another statistic is 1 in 4 Americans, 26% of insured Americans, only have group employer-sponsored coverage that may not provide adequate coverage and will not go with them when they leave or retire their job. So I'm a big advocate of employer-sponsored life insurance, not just individually. I think it's a great option. A lot of times you can get guaranteed issue life insurance through a company, and there's employees that might be uninsurable. I can tell you right now, we've had companies where we go in and do an employee benefits review and bring in a life insurance package that really helps give some peace of mind for those employees that couldn't normally get life insurance. Now, granted, there's minimum amounts. They might only be able to get 100,000, 50,000, or maybe 150 of guaranteed issue, but it's something in place. So I'm a big advocate of employer-sponsored life insurance. The only problem with that is it's typically, sometimes it can be portable, but it can be at a higher cost. And a lot of times it's just not enough. 50,000, 100,000 might take care of a little bit of a debt, but it might not take care of, a college fund for children, or to take care of a special needs child that might be a part of the family. There's a lot of scenarios there to make sure you have enough life insurance there. And the group employer-sponsored plan, although I'm a big advocate of, might not just be enough, and we can help you review additional life insurance on top of that. So that's an important stat right there. Over 39% of Americans will be diagnosed with cancer in their families. Let's just round up. 40% of Americans will be diagnosed with cancer in their families. This is going to tail into the living benefit statistics that I wanted to review here in a minute regarding life insurance. Another sobering statistic is 40% of Americans carry medical debt. Okay? We do a lot of health insurance individually and group benefits and Medicare through Texas State Insurance Services, and we see scenarios where individuals did just not have insurance or enough insurance or the right health insurance, and they've got some medical debt that they're going to have to pay off. I mentioned that a moment ago, and the client that I spoke to that we're trying to get insured had a hospitalization, and they're going to owe that money to the hospital. Now, it's one thing when you have health insurance and you've got a deductible and co-insurance and a catastrophic maximum that will help you protect yourself from having, significant medical debt. But it's even worse if you don't have anything in place off of that. And some of the life insurance products out there can help give some peace of mind on taking care of that if you come down with a particular condition. So that goes over some of the statistics for life insurance. Now I want to talk about the types of life insurance that are out there. And I'm going to look at one of my review sheets here. You've got term life insurance, okay? You got whole life insurance, fixed universal life, and index universal life, okay? Term insurance is basically going to be a simple, no-frills term policy. Probably our most popular is going to be a 20-year, maybe, a little bit longer than that. If the individual's a little bit older, maybe 10 or 15 years is all they need for, protection on a term life, but it does expire. Some of these plans have automatic renewable terms where you can actually extend those, but the premiums just skyrocket and it's typically unaffordable. But term life insurance is a great first step in making sure you have additional coverage that complements your employer-sponsored plan, or it helps make sure you've got something with living benefits in it as well, and I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Whole life, if you need strong protection guarantees for the family, if something were to happen for the long term. Now, whole life is typically going to be insurance that covers you for your whole life. And let's just get this right off the bat. Life insurance is for a death benefit. There are some scenarios where the life insurance, hey, you can build up some cash in there. You can take advantage of the living benefits. But make no mistake, life insurance is for an untimely death. But there are opportunities where you can leverage that in a whole life policy to be able to build up a little bit more than just that term death benefit that you're trying to use to protect yourself. Another life insurance product out there is fixed universal life. Okay. Again, you've got flexibility in some of these permanent life insurance options. Now, every scenario is going to be different for every individual out there or family. So we like to do a complete review and see what type of life insurance product is going to be best for the individual. And fixed universal life could be one of those options. Index universal life that we do and help out quite a few people with is something that's going to provide some additional coverage. It's permanent. It brings in those living benefits depending on the carrier. Again, I'm going to talk about living benefits in a minute, and the ability to supplement retirement income in some cases. So that's another strategy too. But those are, the most common life insurance products that are out there that we help our clients review that you need to be, aware of and see what could fit best for you. Term life is an absolute minimum. I highly recommend that. And what's cool about some of the term life products we've got, if you ever want to convert that to a permanent policy for the long term, you absolutely can do that. And a lot of times we can guarantee the renewal and keep that same underwriting class that you were locked in at. I'll give you one example of why this is important to talk about. When you have life insurance, I've got individuals that we've helped insure with a term life insurance product, and now they're no longer insurable. They couldn't get underwritten. So when we've had those scenarios, that's where we take a look and say, hey, you know what, is this a time to convert this to a permanent policy to make sure you've got something that's not going to expire because you're uninsurable? So having that convertibility with a particular life insurance product is critical on making sure we take a look at that in the review. And just we want to protect you today, but we also want to have a game plan for the future just in case something comes up and you're uninsurable. But those are the types of insurance out there. I guess another insurance that I'll bring up, and those are typically tied to a whole life policy, is final expense. A lot of times you don't need $50, $100, $1 million, $2 million, whatever it is in life insurance. Sometimes you need just anywhere from $10, $15, $25,000 to take care of our final expenses. Okay, it costs some money to either bury us or have cremation. I kid my clients all the time. God forbid something happens to me. I hope my family has mariachis at my funeral, or I'll come back and haunt them a little bit when I'm gone. But you want to make sure that you have something in place. And I had a client years ago put it in the best way. She just didn't want to be a burden to the family. She goes, Justin, get me a final expense policy. I need about $20,000 in coverage. I just want to make sure when something happens and I'm gone, the family doesn't have to worry about my final arrangements, and we take care of that. So a final expense policy a lot of times will complement a term policy that we do for a higher amount. So everybody's different. Every scenario is going to be different. We custom tailor that life insurance review for you. So we want to make sure we review that. But that's a good idea or a good breakdown of the life insurance options that you have available to you. Now we're going to talk about living benefits. We went over the statistics of life insurance and the need for that out there, or what Americans are facing. We talked about some of the products just briefly because, I didn't want to go too much in the weeds on that because it's a case-by-case basis on everybody that we do a life insurance review. But one thing that has been a game changer in life insurance is living benefits, okay? And I think I brought this up a moment ago. We are no doubt living longer lives. We're not necessarily living healthier lives. And you've got standalone long-term care insurance that is very important to consider or have in place, but sometimes those policies are a little out of reach. And what the life insurance carriers have done is they have actually helped bring in some protection that it looks similar to long-term care, in the scenarios that can trigger taking the death benefit out before we die. Let's take an example. Let's say somebody gets a life insurance policy from us and it's a term life product, but it has living benefits in it. What's nice about that is, let's say they're in a car accident, okay? If the car accident killed that individual, that insured, the family would get a death benefit, okay? Whatever that death benefit could be. So they'd get that, and you'd prepare for the final expenses for that loved one or that individual that's insured, and then money would go towards debt, retirement, taking care of the family needs, income lost, all of that good stuff. But let's say that car accident put that individual in a critical injury, or incapacitated them where they couldn't work. That's where living benefits can come in and help that individual. Maybe that person needs a wheelchair ramp to get into their house. They can't afford to move or switch houses, or they like the house that they're in, and that injury could have affected that person, and they need some of those funds to be able to live a better life because they were affected. That's where living benefits come in, and I'm going to break down what those living benefits are and why they're important to consider in your life insurance protection. And if you're not looking at living benefits in your life insurance, or really seeing which carrier has the strongest living benefits out there, let us know. We'll help you out with a review because, again, it's a game changer out there, and I want to discuss that now. So the first thing is most life insurance have this. It's a terminal illness rider. Okay, that allows for a payment of their portion of the insured's death benefit on a discounted basis. So on this particular, one of the carriers that we use the most for our clients, or one of our most popular carriers, they provide a terminal benefit that if you're expected in a result, or you're expected to possibly have a death within 24 months, they're going to allow you to take some of that death benefit before dying, okay, based on that terminal illness. Some carriers, it could be 12 months. This particular one that we utilize is, offering a 24-month exposure. Think about that. If you get a terminal illness and your days are numbered, how empowering is that to have a life insurance product that you can still be alive and make some decisions for your family, for yourself, while still living? Okay, if you have a significant amount of life insurance, that could be a significant amount of money that you can take advantage of and go on a trip with your family. A long time bucket list trip with a family. Maybe there's some, medical facilities outside of the country that you want to try to take advantage of and utilize to possibly save your life or help with that terminal condition. You can utilize that as well. But those are a couple scenarios. But bottom line is terminal illness is taking out the death benefit or utilizing that before you expire, before you have a death with a terminal illness rider. Most life insurance policies have that. Another living benefit to make sure you have in place with your insurance is chronic illness. Okay? On a chronic illness, covered chronic illness riders that are embedded in the type of life insurance that you can consider, a chronic illness is defined as one that leaves you with unable to perform without substantial assistance 2 of the 6 normal activities of daily living for a period of at least 90 days. So much like short-term and long-term disability, you kind of got a period of time where they've got to make sure that this is a credible chronic illness. And basically, once you hit that time frame, then the clock can start on getting a chronic illness support off of that. So chronic illness, again, is going to be based on 2 of the 6 normal activities of daily living for a period of at least 90 days due to loss of functional capacity or requires substantial supervision to protect oneself. So the 6 activities of daily living are going to include, if you can't bathe yourself, continence, dressing, eating, toiletry, transferring. Those are the daily living or the parameters of the daily living that you need to make sure you lose two out of the 6 of those. But let's talk about that one more time because I kind of stuttered there. The 6 activities of daily living include bathing, continence, dressing, eating, toileting, and transferring. Okay, if you need assistance with that, that's where, or at least 2 of those 6, that's where your chronic illness coverage within your life insurance of living benefits can come in and help you with that. So very cool. God forbid you have those situations. A lot of times when I do a review of employee benefits with a group of individuals or maybe some of our luncheons, I asked the group, hey, have you had a family member that you've had to help or assist with long-term care situations? And I got to see that at an early age. Well, I say an early age, in my 20s, with a family friend of my wife and I's, and he needed some assistance there. And that's when it started clicking. Wow, this can take some time, money, and effort from a handful of individuals to help these friends of ours with that situation, or your family members. But this is where it can be critical in having a benefit that will provide funding for a chronic illness. Another living benefit, and this is going to be a case by case basis depending on the carrier that you're shopping on the life insurance with, Alzheimer's disease or Lewy body dementia. Alzheimer's disease riders within these policies allow for payment of a portion of an insured's death benefit or discounted basis if the insured has a qualifying diagnosis of Alzheimer's or Lewy body dementia. Okay? So Alzheimer's is huge. We're noticing an uptick in Alzheimer's out there. So having a life insurance policy to help with that is significant. And I kind of got caught off a minute ago. I went on a tangent. I don't think I followed through on that. Long-term care. I've had family members, not just friends of the family, where we had to help with a long-term care situation. And you can be prepared for long-term care or you cannot be prepared for long-term care. And I'll tell you, when you're prepared or have a policy or financially in a position to take care of your long-term care needs, it helps. Okay, if you don't have long-term care protection in place, a lot of times, the only way you can get real exceptional assistance or better assistance for your long-term care needs is becoming a ward of the state. Families have to liquidate assets for their loved ones or family members or neighbors to help them get on Medicaid, and justify that. And it's tough. So if anybody out there is listening to me, I totally get what you've gone through in long-term care situations. We want to help make sure we get the word out on that because there is protection that you can have in place. So terminal illness, chronic illness, Alzheimer's disease, and Lewy body dementia are some of the living benefit scenarios that you can have coverage and protection with your life insurance. Let's keep on going. We've got critical illness and critical injury. And I'm going to read off a handful of these of what could be a critical illness or a critical injury. So the riders on these life insurance for critical illness and critical injury are going to provide a payment or a portion of the insured's death benefit on a discounted basis as well if the insured is critically ill or critically injured. A highlight on the covered critical illnesses are going to be ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, aortic graft surgery, aplastic anemia, blindness, cancer, cystic fibrosis, end-stage renal failure, heart attacks, heart valve replacement, major organ transplants, motor neuron disease, strokes, or sudden cardiac arrest. So that gives you an idea of the critical illnesses that are a factor that could basically trigger a living benefit claim on your life insurance policy. Critical injuries are going to be something like a coma, paralysis, severe burns, traumatic brain injury. That gives you an idea of some of the critical injuries that you would need to consider or you would actually be protected with for your life insurance with living benefits. And that gives you an idea really on the living benefits that are covered within the life insurance products that have the living benefits protection. Let's go over that one more time. Make sure your life insurance, if possible, has living benefits of terminal illness protection, chronic illness protection, Alzheimer's disease and Lewy body dementia, critical illness, and critical injury. Okay? Some carriers are only going to have a few of those living benefits. Some of them are going to have all of it. Some of the times when you go to an insurance carrier, you want to make sure that you are healthy because I've got scenarios where they'll actually have some of those living benefits that they'll cover, and some of them will not be covered because of a pre-existing condition. They still have a death benefit. They still have some of the living benefits, but not all of them. So just know that your health situation now can determine what you're qualified for with life insurance or any other products in the future. Very important. I wanted to go over a few more stats, and these might be a little redundant on life insurance, but let's discuss this real quick. A couple other important stats: 52% of American adults have life insurance. Okay, so almost half of most Americans do not have coverage in place. Okay, 39% of insured Americans wish they had purchased their policies at a younger age. I get it. We have a lot of individuals that sometimes are, even though we brought up a stat where people didn't realize that most life insurance is reasonable or affordable, the longer you wait, though, the more expensive it will get. So a lot of times we try to get to those individuals in their 20s and 30s and 40s to try to make sure they've got life insurance in place at an affordable rate. Are there affordable options in your 50s and 60s? Absolutely. Are there long-term care plans out there that we'll talk about? Absolutely. 42% of families would face financial hardship within 6 months in the event of a death of a wage earner. Okay? 42% of American families would face a financial hardship within 6 months in the event of the death of a wage earner or family members that's contributing to the income to take care of that family. That's huge. 102 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. 102 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. 14 million Americans are projected to have Alzheimer's disease. This by 2026 is on this stat. And probably on the video and what we'll put out there, we'll make sure we bookmark or show where we're getting the statistics from. But 14 million Americans are projected to have Alzheimer's disease by 2060. Okay? More than ever, it's important to have life insurance that has living benefits that can protect you, God forbid, that situation comes up. So that gives over our discussion on life insurance. Hopefully that was helpful on breaking down the type of life insurance out there, some of the important stats that I brought up a minute ago, and just some more additional stats just right now that we're discussing. We talked about the types of life insurance that are out there. Those are going to vary and be different for everyone's situation, as everyone's situation is different. And we talked about the type of living benefits that you have access to and what triggers those living benefits within the life insurance policies. Next thing we want to talk about right now is ultimately Texas State Insurance and Palmetto Life Group's luncheons that we're having. Every week, we are going to have a weekly luncheon at our office, our Stone Oak office specifically, where you can actually come by the office and enjoy some snacks. And we're going to talk about Social Security. We're also going to talk about how Social Security is dialed in with Medicare. A lot of people don't realize you have to go through the Social Security portal or office to get enrolled in your Medicare. So that's important for us to have these education workshops, and they have been very well received. And not only can you join us this workshop weekly, and you're going to want to reach out to us to RSVP a time that you want to stop by, but our weekly workshop is going to be virtual as well. So maybe you can't make it by the office, maybe you're out of town, but you still want to get some insight on Social Security and Medicare coverage. Please let us know. Reach out to us. Reserve your spot. We'll send you the link. It'll be every week. So if you can't make next week's event, you can make the following week. And we're going to be having these weekly through probably November, December during the annual enrollment periods for Medicare and employee benefits and the individual health insurance marketplace that's opening up as well. The topics that we'll discuss are basically going to be regulations on claiming strategies to maximize your Social Security benefits, how to receive personalized analysis and planning for your Social Security. And the other thing we'll talk about is Medicare, the Parts A, B, C, and D, along with the other coverage that you're going to have to complement your Medicare coverage. Enrollment dates, when you can enroll and not enroll, penalties that you could be subject to, as well as eligibility and future changes that we can expect in health insurance. So let us know if you want us to send you out details regarding our weekly luncheon. We're real excited to bring this back. I was having this at restaurants prior to that, but I think we've got the room at the office in our Northside San Antonio location, and I think it'll be well received, and we'd love for us to meet you in person at the office. You just got to reserve your spot. We are going to have limited seating because we don't have a ton of room, but we've got enough room to have a good amount of individuals stop by for our Social Security and Medicare 101s every Wednesday at 12 p.m. at the office. Again, reach out to us for details on that. We'd love to have you stop by or join us virtually for the event. One thing I did want to add that I actually put on the flyer, I am a registered Social Security analyst. There's only a handful of us here in the San Antonio area that are registered Social Security analysts. I think there's only a handful in South Texas as well for our McAllen office in South Texas. But if you need a no-nonsense Social Security review to basically heat map and take a look at the strategy and options with your Social Security, let us know, and we'll be happy to do that review for you. And we're pretty excited to be a brokerage that has a registered Social Security analyst. Myself, it's as boring as it sounds, by the way, but it's come a long way and helped us really dive into helping our clients with that designation and that support that we've got. So, again, just a little plug for our weekly luncheons. And if you can't make the luncheon, no problem. If you can't make it remotely, just let us know, and we'll do a one-on-one visit at the office or schedule a time for us to visit and review as well. Long-term care insurance. We discussed life insurance with living benefits that have living benefits that are very similar or look and act like a long-term care need that you might have. But make no mistake, to truly protect you for a long-term care situation, long-term care insurance is going to be more than likely the product that you want to have in place. Now, long-term care, I'm going to go over some key reasons to consider long-term care, some statistics to consider as well. But long-term care insurance is not covered by Medicare. Okay? If you come into a long-term care situation as a senior or when you're eligible for Medicare, just know that the coverage isn't going to be there. The only way you can truly have a long-term care coverage through your Medicare is typically when Medicaid comes in based on your income and your low asset class is going to be able to allow you to get long-term care through Medicaid. But if you can, take a look at and get a review for long-term care insurance. Sometimes the life insurance with living benefits is going to be sufficient or the right tool or product to have in place to protect you for that. But I will tell you, I've seen individuals that we've met that got long-term care insurance years ago, and they're so glad they did. It came in, it took care of it, because the cost of long-term care needs can be significant. So let's take a look at some of the key reasons to get long-term care insurance. First one is going to be protect your savings and assets. Long-term care costs can deplete an entire retirement nest egg quickly, very quickly. But insurance provides a dedicated fund to potentially keep those healthcare needs in place, preserving your assets and intended purposes. We've actually got some financial products that are out there that have like a long-term care rider to where the individual's uninsurable, but they put funds in these products, and God forbid a long-term care need comes up, they get an elevated amount based on their distributions. So some really slick stuff out there so you don't deplete your savings or your retirement sooner than you would like because of the long-term care need. Avoiding financial burden on the family. I brought up, burden to a family on the life insurance scenario for one of our clients a moment ago, but by securing a long-term care insurance, you can avoid placing a financial and emotional burden on your loved ones to cover care expenses or to provide it for themselves for extended periods of time. I was talking to one of our reps. I think it was last week, one of our carrier reps, and that sandwich generation is what people are talking about. You've got individuals out there that have parents that they're going to have to take care of their long-term care needs on, but also they've got children, dependent children, that they've got to take care of as well. When you have a long-term care plan in place, it can help you protect and take care of your aging loved ones, and have financial support on that, because make no mistake, there's millions of people that are going to be affected by their aging parents, but at the same time have to take care of their dependent children at the same time, and that's going to be very overwhelming off of that. So avoid the financial burden to the family is a huge reason to consider having long-term care insurance. Ensure your care and wishes are followed. A long-term care plan allows you to decide on how and where you want to receive your care. Long-term care plans can be different out there. Some of them, they require you to use a specific facility, and some of them will pay out for having your family members or your loved ones or a trusted individual take care of you. And that's some really good and nice flexibility to have on that, but that's going to vary on the carrier and the coverage that you have in place. But that also, like I mentioned a moment ago, it ensures that your care and wishes are followed, and you can make sure that if you have long-term care coverage in place, it's in place the way you want it to be taken care of and fulfilled for yourself, and protect your family. Access to quality care. Planning ahead can provide access to a wider range of high-quality care options, such as nursing homes, assisted living, and in-home care facility, before you need them, and basically not be put on a wait list. We have a generation that's aging in, millions and millions of boomers that are aging in there, and I can forecast a bottleneck of facilities for long-term care needs. And if you have a plan in place, you could ultimately be proactive on the facility or what you're going to have in place for your long-term care before you need it. Peace of mind, knowing you have a plan and coverage for potential long-term care for long-term care needs can bring significant peace of mind to you and your family. I can't stress it enough. If you haven't had a long-term care situation for a family member, a loved one, a friend, you kind of just don't know how burdened that can be and taxing financially, time-wise, emotionally. It can be very stressful. So that peace of mind is a huge situation where long-term care can come in and help protect and keep yourself prepared if that time comes, or when it's going to come. Because I think the majority of us are going to have long-term care situations, and it's very important to do that planning as soon as possible. So that gives you a few reasons on why to get long-term care insurance and have that in place. Now let's talk about some of the statistics for long-term care, or the need to have long-term care. One of them is the high likelihood that you're going to need it. Approximately 70% of people who reach the age 65 will require some form excuse me, of long-term care at least once in their lifetime. Let me repeat that. Approximately 70% of people who reach age 65 will require some form of long-term care at least once in their lifetime. Just that right there is a reason to make sure you have a long-term care plan in place or a life insurance policy with living benefits. Gender differences. Women generally require long-term care for an average of 3.7 years, compared to men who need 2.2 years. So where we're going with this statistic is sometimes the long-term care need can be longer for women than it is with men. Another scenario to keep in, or statistic to keep in mind regarding assessing your long-term care coverage. Significant duration. A quarter of American seniors may have need care services for 5 years or more. So sometimes that need is not just going to be for 3.7 years for females or 2.2 years for males. You could need a long-term care plan that could prepare you or at least cover the entire 5 years or more of that long-term care need that you have. So where that scenario is sobering is maybe you have coverage in place. It could be enough, but you might have to still tap into retirement funds or assets to be able to cover those long-term care costs. That's a scary statistic to go over. Growing demand. The number of people aged 85 and older is projected to nearly triple by 2055, which is undoubtedly going to increase the need for long-term care. It's coming. That's why I'm glad we're having this episode regarding long-term care insurance and life insurance with living benefits, because make no mistake, the need for long-term care is going to be here, and you want to make sure you're prepared, or we're going to have some serious problems for millions and millions of people out there. The high cost of the median cost, the median cost of a semi-private room in a nursing home was around $8,669 a month. Okay, that's in 2023, totaling to over $100,000 a year. Remember, I brought this up a minute ago. Medicare does not cover long-term care coverage. Okay, so if you've got long-term care options or need them for your employee benefit strategy, let us know. If you're looking for an individual long-term care strategy for yourself, let us know. Reach out to us at Palmetto Life Group, because the cost of long-term care over $100,000 per year. Okay, it's a lot of money to help protect ourselves in a long-term care situation. Limited public options. Medicaid can pay for services if you qualify for Medicaid. Quotes there, qualify, but only for those with limited financial means, making private insurance a key option for protecting one's assets. Okay? You can't just think that you're going to qualify for Medicaid. Okay? That and we're noticing sweeping legislation on Medicaid and how to qualify for that. So I think that's going to be even more stringent and strict to qualify for Medicaid for our seniors. So having a long-term care insurance and plan sooner than later is going to help protect you with that. So that gives you an idea on all of the long-term care planning updates. We talked about key reasons to get long-term care insurance. We talked about the statistics, the sobering statistics on why you need to have a long-term care coverage plan in place. And hopefully this episode provided some great value regarding life insurance with living benefits, and the long-term care need that is out there. With that, let's talk about Palmetto Life Group. Palmetto Life Group is our division where we focus on life insurance, some retirement options, Social Security planning and analysis is what we've added to Palmetto Life Group as well. Not only just that life insurance, but long-term care planning with standalone long-term care plans. We'd love to visit with you on that. And we've also added home, auto, and commercial. So that's a part of the Palmetto Life Group division as well. So we're anxious to visit with you, see what we can do to help you review that when you have a moment. We're so excited that we've got the Mad Insurance Show making a difference in insurance going here out of San Antonio and KTSA. And I believe we're reaching 99 counties around the area, which is real exciting. And I can't wait to revisit with y'all next week. Hopefully we'll have a guest. We're going over the schedule on who we'll have on future shows coming up. But we can't stress that we hope that this is bringing value. If you've got questions, reach out to us at Texas State Insurance Services for all your health insurance needs, and Palmetto Life Group for all your life insurance and long-term care needs. But again, it's Justin Holland with the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. You guys have a great week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.